Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the gear that I take with me on a day hike. I did a video on this about 3 years ago now. I've upgraded a lot of kit since then and I've added some new bits as well. So I thought it's finally time to do an updated video. I'm just going to show you guys all the stuff that I might take out with me into the hills and mountains of the UK. And hopefully this will help you guys out, especially if you're new to hiking, because it's really important to take all of the correct gear when you're heading out onto the hills and mountains. Please do let me know if you've got to the end of this video and you think I've missed something really important out. I'd love to hear all about the kit that you guys take out on your walks as well. So we'll start with the bag. So this is a 30-litre rucksack. For day hiking, you probably want something around 20 to 30 litres. Maybe in the middle of summer you could go with something a little bit lighter. My other option for a bag, which you'll probably see in most of my videos, is this 20-litre bag. It's actually designed for running and fast packing, but it's really nice and lightweight. So depending on what time of year it is or the distance that I'm doing, I'm either going to be taking my 20-litre backpack or my 30-litre backpack. So the way we're going to do this, I'm basically just going to unpack this bag because I have fully packed it with pretty much everything that I would need for a day hike. So we'll start on the outside. Water bottle. So it's an obvious one. You're obviously going to want to take water out when you're out on the hills. I usually take 1 to 2 litres. Again, it completely depends on how hot it's going to be, the distance I'm doing. But yeah, I usually take 1 to 2 litres. I love these Nalgene bottles. They're really hard wearing plastic bottles. You can also get a water bladder, which will sit in the back of your rucksack and kind of come over your shoulder. You don't have to take your rucksack off to get your water bottle out. It kind of just sits over your shoulder. Downside is, I end up sipping on this and it's nearly all gone within 5 or 10 minutes. And you also can't really see how much you've got left. So you have to be a little bit careful with these that you don't drink it all too soon. And a little top tip for you, when you're not using them and you're storing them at home, put them in the freezer, stops any sort of bacteria and horrible stuff growing inside them. Something else you might want to take with you is a flask, especially in the winter. You'll never catch me on the hills without a hot brew in here. It really does boost your mood. If I ever forget it, I'm usually absolutely devastated. When you get to the top of the hill, treat yourself to a hot coffee or tea. Right then, so we'll open up the bag. There is no order of importance here. I'm just going to be pulling stuff out as I've packed it. And the next thing we've got on the list is a map. So if you're going out anywhere, you need to be taking a paper map with you. Yes, you can use your mobile phone, which is another thing that you should be taking with you. You can use things like the OS Maps app, which you can use for navigating, and they are absolutely superb and I highly recommend using them. I use the OS Maps app for every single hike that I do, as the GPS is super accurate, but I will always take a map out with me. You don't know if your phone's going to run out of battery, you'll lose it, anything could happen to it. You should always take a paper map with you. And along with a paper map, you're going to want a compass. If you don't know how to use a compass and take a bearing or read a map, there are heaps of YouTube videos out there. I'm thinking of doing one pretty soon where you can learn all the basics. Or you could book a session with a mountain guide or something like that. You can book navigation courses. We could go out and learn a bit of nav. Really is essential to have some sort of navigational knowledge if you're going to be going out into the hills and mountains. And you can get waterproof maps and waterproof map cases as well. So yeah, if it's going to be wet, I highly recommend getting a waterproof map or a map case. Right, so next on the list, we have got a waterproof jacket. There will never be a walk that you do in the UK where you shouldn't take a waterproof jacket. Even on the sunniest days, if you live in the UK, you always know there is a possibility that you're going to get rained on and you're going to get wet. And if you do get wet, you start to get cold, especially in the winter and in the colder months. So it is absolutely essential to have a waterproof. If you want a little bit more information on kits, what I'd wear for winter especially, I've just done a winter clothing video, so give that a watch. But yeah, waterproof jacket, absolutely essential. It's going to keep you dry, really good for keeping the wind off you as well. This is a Mountain Equipment Gore-Tex jacket. Gore-Tex is a premium waterproof membrane. You pay a little bit more for it, but this is an all-season waterproof, and you can get ones which are 2-season, 3-season, 4-season. If you're going to invest and you want to do a lot of hiking and you want one that's going to do it all, a 4-season waterproof is going to be the one for you. And along with your waterproof jacket, you're going to want to have a pair of waterproof trousers. This is a pair of Innovate waterproof trousers, which is a running brand, so these are really designed for running. And that's why I like these so much, because they're very nice and stretchy and they're going to keep you dry. The same as the waterproof jacket, it really is essential to have waterproof trousers, because if you get really wet, again, you're going to get very cold. We've then got a woolly hat. I will take a woolly hat out with me for most of my hiking in the UK. Obviously, in the middle of summer, if it's a heat wave and it's 20+ degrees, I'm probably not going to take one with me. But I'd say for 9 months of the year, I've always got a beanie. Along with a beanie, always will pack a cap with me, even in the middle of winter, because you can get that really low sun. It's going to protect your face and head, especially in the middle of summer. Heat stroke can be a massive issue for people out walking in the summer. Nothing on the head. There is usually very little shade up on the hills and mountains, especially in places like the Peak District, Lake District, Snowdonia. If you're going up high, there's not really going to be any woodlands. So having some sort of a cap or a proper sun hat is definitely something you're going to want to have in your bag. Next, I've got a spare mid layer, which isn't an absolute essential if you've already got one on, but I always like to take one just in case I chill off, and also in case someone else needs one. A lot of the time I'm out hiking with my friends or my girlfriend, and yeah, it's just nice to have another layer for someone else just in case. And also really good for emergency situations if, you know, you stood around getting cold. Next up, we've got gloves. So in the winter, I'm going to be taking something like this with me, which is a pair of Salomon sort of mountaineering gloves. These are extremely warm. I think keeping your hands warm is one of the most important things in winter, because if you get cold hands, it is extremely painful and it is all you can think about. It has got to be one of the worst things. So yeah, I'm really careful in the winter with my hands. So you can get some really thick ones. Mitts also are fantastic. They'll keep your hands a bit warmer than the ones with fingers. If you want really warm hands, I haven't got any with me now, but I always take out hand warmers in the middle of winter. I usually get the one-use ones. A lot of them are compostable, so they're not horrific for the planet. And yeah, they are fantastic. They'll stay warm for about 8 hours. Another pair of gloves I will always take with me is a thinner pair. This is actually a waterproof pair. This brand is Sealskins. They're absolutely awesome. I swear by them. I sell loads of them in the outdoor store that I work in, because you can have the warmest glove in the world, but if it's not waterproof and your hands get wet, your hands are just going to freeze. So yeah, some waterproof gloves, excellent for winter months especially. Spare socks, always a good thing to take, not an absolute essential. Obviously in the middle of summer, if it's really dry, you're probably not going to need them. But yeah, I always take a spare pair, just in case. If my socks get really wet or it's a really long day out, for getting some sort of blisters, it can sometimes be nice to change up the socks. So yeah, always a good option. A buff, I'll always carry a buff with me. Really good for just keeping your neck and face warm. Really good for putting on your wrist and wiping snot off. I know it's disgusting, but I'm telling you right now, it's a lifesaver because you don't have to keep on getting tissues out and they're very easy to wash. So yeah, buffs are always a good shout to carry, especially in winter and in summer as well, because they're good for just wiping the sweat off your forehead or use it as a headband sort of thing. Sunglasses, again, all year round, arguably even more important in the winter if it's really snowy. It can be extremely bright. If you do struggle with the brightness of the sun, it will make things a bit safer for you as well, because you'll be able to actually focus in on the ground ahead of you. Sun cream. Now you're probably going to laugh, but I take this with me on every single hike of the year, including the middle of winter, because I am unbelievably pale. I can get sunburn in the middle of December if the sun's out all day. So I always take sun cream out with me. In the summer, if you forget your sun cream, you're just going to be in for such a painful day. You see photos of it all the time. You know, people forget sun cream, long day out on the hills, and they've got horrific burn lines on their arms. For me, it's quite dangerous because I'm very pale skinned and, you know, I do a lot of stuff outdoors, so I am super safe when it comes to sun cream. This one is an SPF 50, so it's a really high graded sort of sun cream, and it's a Life Systems one, and it is made for doing sort of sports. I absolutely swear by this now because it's not too oily, it doesn't seem to run, and it's not all sticky and horrible. So yeah, when I did my hike across the lakes this year, it was 20+ degrees every single day. I wore this every single day and I didn't get burnt at all, so highly recommend this one. First aid kit. Now this is something that a lot of people probably don't even think to pack, but having a first aid kit is not only super important for yourself, but also for other people's safety out on the hills. If you're carrying a first aid kit and someone's had an accident and they haven't got one, you could really end up helping someone out. This is just the basic one. I think I got it off Amazon, this one. But it's got pretty much everything you need in there. Tweezers, antiseptic wipes, plasters, bandages. There is absolutely all sorts in here. It says in here there are 92 pieces of equipment in here. So luckily my girlfriend also works in A&E, so her first aid kit is probably the best first aid kit anyone has ever had out on the hills. But yeah, you should never go out on the hills without a first aid kit. It could actually end up saving someone's life. I know you can obviously get some extremely serious injuries on the mountains where one of these little things isn't really going to help too much. But yeah, an absolute essential for out on the hills. And inside that as well, I forgot to say, there is a foil blanket, and foil blankets are extremely useful for when you're out in the hills. If someone has an accident, even in the middle of the summer, they can start to chill off rapidly, and having a foil blanket is going to help them regulate their temperature, keep themselves warm and not chill off completely. In the winter, even more important. So yeah, a foil blanket, make sure you carry one of them with you. And right at the bottom of the bag, where it probably shouldn't be, maybe in the summer, but in the winter you don't want this at the bottom at all, we've got our down jacket. So a down jacket is basically an insulated coat. This one's full of down feathers. This is the Rab Mythic G. I was very lucky to win this in a Christmas competition. This is an extremely warm jacket. You can get much cheaper down jackets that are still going to keep you very warm. But having an insulated jacket with you, especially in the winter, you know, it's a really important piece of kit, because again, if you get really cold in the mountain, things can start to get serious. Having an insulated jacket on you is going to help you out a lot if you get cold. Even in the summer, I always pack one of these, because if something happens, if someone else falls over or you fall over and you're stuck in a position waiting for some help, having a down jacket could again save someone's life. And the nice thing about these is they pack down to absolutely nothing. I will always keep them in a little dry bag, because again, you don't want your down jacket getting wet, but these will compress down to absolutely nothing. This jacket almost goes to a ball. And on the subject of dry bags are awesome for keeping all of your kit dry. I have a dry bag liner that all of that stuff that I've just took out was sat in. So what I'll do is, if I'm packing my bag, I'll shove the dry bag liner in there, and I'll just pack everything into here. You can fold it up and seal it at the top, and then everything is sealed tight in there. Water is not going to get in there if you've got a good one. And that's something that I've only really started doing in the past couple of years. I would usually have some sort of a waterproof cover. I've learned over the years that those waterproof covers aren't always the best, and if it's really windy, a lot of the time they just blow off. Having a dry bag and keeping all of your kit dry, no matter what the weather, is just so important, because if your kit gets wet, like your insulated jackets or your spare socks or your spare mid-layer, there is no point in carrying them, because having wet kit isn't going to help you out whatsoever. And you can get them in all different sizes. You can get ones that are about 1 litre in size, and you can get ones like this, which I think this is actually a 50 litre one. I bought this for my big expedition bag, but I also use it in my 30 litre bag because it'll fold down small enough to fit in my bag as well. A little bit of luxury sat at the bottom of my bag. I don't really take this out with me anymore. Maybe if my old man's coming with me and he needs a bit of a rest. A foam sit mat. In our outdoor shop, we sell heaps of these. People absolutely love them, and I can see why, because if you're stopping for a little brew break, you don't want to be sat on a really cold, wet, hard rock. Whack that down, park your bum on it. They cost a couple of quid, but yeah, it's a little bit of luxury that you can give yourself out on the hills and mountains. Next up, we've got food. So going out for a long day in the hills, food is absolutely essential. You're going to want to keep your energy levels high. If you don't take enough food with you, or any at all, you're going to really struggle. You're going to fade out, and you're basically going to hit a horrible wall. So when I head out onto the hills, I usually take high energy food with me. So stuff like cereal bars, energy gels as well. They are fantastic. Take a little bit of getting used to. Don't sit too well in the stomach for the first few times if you've never had them before, but once your body's used to them, they are absolutely awesome, and they'll give you a real kick, especially on the uphills. You can take stuff that's, sandwiches, crisps, whatever kind of floats your boat. You want stuff that is basically high energy. Good to take some sort of carbs, or some salty foods are quite good as well, because you do lose quite a lot of salt through your sweat when you're out in the hills. But always take a little bit extra. Bananas as well, fruit, apples, really good. But always take a little bit of extra food, just in case you have any sort of emergencies or unexpected stops. You should always take a little bit more than you're actually going to need. Some sort of a trail mix is really good as well, like nuts and raisins, and you can put a bit of chocolate in there as well. You'll soon work out what works best for you. Another thing that I'll take out with me is a battery pack. So I take one of these basically so that my phone doesn't run out of battery. I use my GPS on my phone on the OS Maps app, which does drain the battery quite a bit. So a battery pack is going to ensure that your phone's not going to run out of battery. Really important if you're going out for a really long day, because you always want some sort of phone battery in case of emergencies. If you need to call mountain rescue, or just call a friend or family saying you're going to be home a little bit late, anything like that. Really good. You can pick them up off Amazon for quite cheap as well. I think this one does about 8 or 9 phone chargers, so if anything, this one's a bit too big and bulky. A head torch is, it's one of those pieces of kit that I will put in my bag for every single day out in the hills. It's especially important in winter, shorter daylight hours. You know, at the moment, we're in the middle of January. The sun is setting about 4 o'clock, half 4. So if you're out and, you know, you've been a bit slow or you've underestimated how long the walk's gonna take you and it goes dark, having a head torch is so important. And take a spare battery with you. I always pack a spare battery because in the winter especially, your battery can fade out very quickly. This head torch is 900 lumens. I think 1 lumen is the equivalent to 1 candle being lit. So a 900 lumens head torch is extremely bright. If you're out hiking in the hills and mountains, I'm gonna say you're gonna want something probably about 500 lumens plus, just so that you can see properly. It's worth investing in a high lumen head torch, just because it's so much safer if you can see more of the ground ahead of you. Also, really important, if you do get lost up on the hills, a lot of them will have a red light, so you can put a flashing setting on them as well. If someone is looking for you, you can stick it up in the air and you're going to be able to be found a lot easier. So we've got a water filter. I don't always take this out with me if I'm doing a short walk and I know I've got enough water with me. I'll take this out for, you know, really long hikes, especially in the summer where I'm going to need a lot of water. I will very rarely use this, to be honest, because I usually do pack enough water. The last time I did use it was when I was doing a multi-day hike across the Lake District. So it was multi-days, 60 miles. I was camping on top of some of the fells. Having this meant I could fill my water bottles up when I came across a stream. And the nice thing about having one of these is obviously filtering all the horrible stuff out of the water. You shouldn't really fill your water bottles straight from a stream unless you're somewhere. Probably get away with it if you're very close to the source of the water. Even then, for me, it's not worth taking the risk. All it takes is for a dead sheep to be lying in the river a tiny bit upstream and yeah, you're probably gonna get ill. This one is by a company called Sawyer. Wallet, a bit of a no-brainer to be honest, although I have forgotten my wallet quite a few times on a hike, but it's just nice to have a wallet. Even nice if you have a bit of spare cash or change, which I know a lot of people don't carry with them in this day and age, but if you go to car parks, loads of car parks in the Peak District are pay and display and cash only. If you get lost or your days ended up being longer or you haven't been able to make it back to the car, being able to pay for a bus, train, taxi, that sort of thing. Most importantly, change for an ice cream, because if it's a really hot day and you haven't got any money for an ice cream, it is absolutely devastating. So a lot of these things now are a little less important. I've been through the main important stuff. Another thing that I'll take out with me on most of my walks, and you've probably seen it in a lot of my videos, is earphones. I'd say about 75% of the time when I'm out in the hills, running, hiking, whatever I'm doing, I like to just be living in the moment, no distractions. However, if I'm on something really long and I need a bit of motivation, some earphones, get your big tunes on, it will help keep you going a little bit. Also, if I'm doing a walk and it's not too inspiring, just putting on a podcast or something like that is really nice. Coming to the end now of everything that I take with me, but obviously I take a camera with me on most of my walks. I take this one, which is a mirrorless camera. I love taking photos of the hills and mountains. It's just a hobby and a passion really. I'm not amazing at it, but I do really enjoy it. I obviously take a little GoPro, which is what I film most of my videos on. The one I'm filming on now is a camera that I'll sometimes take with me as well. Do a lot of my wild camping videos, so I always leave a little bit of space for my camera. It's not an essential. Phones take fantastic photos these days. And I'll also take with me a little tripod thing. This one's fantastic. You can kind of bend the legs and wrap it around things like fence posts. Really nice if you want to get a little portrait photo of yourself, or if you're doing a YouTube video like I am, I will attach my camera onto there and I can talk to you guys. But yeah, again, not an essential bit of kit. So yeah, I think that is pretty much everything. Feels like I've got through that a bit too quickly. I'm going to be doing lots of videos this year, similar to my winter hiking clothing video that I did a couple of weeks ago, where I'm going to be going really into depth on certain pieces of kit. I'm going to do reviews on my down jackets that I've got at the moment, and my waterproofs. So yeah, I'm going to do lots of sort of informative videos about kit. So today was just purely letting you guys know what is in my bag when I'm out on the hills. Like I said, I don't take all of this stuff with me on every single hike. There are a few things that aren't absolutely essential, and I take all of this stuff purely for my safety on the hills and for other people as well, because it is so easy to forget pieces of kit or first aid kit and stuff like that, and you can really help someone out if you have it on you and they're in need of something. So yeah, that is pretty much everything that I pack on a day hike. Let me know in the comments if you think I've missed anything out major, and I'd love to hear about all the kit that you take with you. There's just so much different kit out there, and a lot of the stuff that I've got might not be appropriate for what you need. And yeah, like I said, just ask me any questions you want. I'll try my best to answer them. I'm going to end the video here. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for all the love on the channel. The channel is doing the best it has ever done at the moment, and I just really appreciate all the love. It really does mean a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.